Hi, I'm Brian with Next Step Audio Enhancement, and we're coming back to you today with another one of the Your New Home series. Now, some of you may remember from our introductory video that we're talking about how we're going to put all of this stuff here up onto the wall, into the wall, etc. Now that's all well and good, but before you can do that, you have to know what's inside the wall. How do you do that? Very simple. Use a couple of tools. Some of them are really simple, and we'll show you how to do it just as soon as I get all this stuff out of the way. Stay right there. Okay, now that we got the TV and the table and everything pushed off out of the way, I can talk about what you need in order to find out what's in this wall. The first thing, super simple, piece of tape, right? Use painter's tape, and the reason you use painter's tape is when you're done with this, you can peel it off the wall and it won't take the paint with you. It saves a lot of trouble later. Second thing you're going to need a marker, you're going to need a tape measure, and you're going to need one of these guys right here. This is a stud finder. Now, you can pick these up at any home improvement store. There's various different ones. Just go pick one up. They work really simple. I'll show you how. What you do is you put it up on the wall where you're pretty sure there's a void in the wall. Now, how do you find those? Simple. You can knock on the wall. Right there, there's probably a stud. That's probably a cavity right there. So we're going to start right here, right? With our stud finder, you simply push the button with it pushed up against the wall, and then you slide it along the wall until it gives you an indication. Right there, we have a stud here. So what will we do? Well, if I had my pen with me, I would mark that spot on the wall. So let's go along and mark the center of all of these studs. And then we can go back and mark the edges of the studs. And we could also make a note of where other things in the wall. For example, the other side of this wall, I have a bathroom here. Now, if you look at where the sink is in the bathroom, you can see that the pipes go into the wall there. The drain comes in at the same point. But more importantly, I'm not sure if the pipes go up into the attic and come across, or if they go down into the slab and go and connect to the water supply. If they go down, it makes it easier. If they go up, they're going to be in the wall cavity right here behind where the sink is on the other side. Regardless of that, there is going to be a vent stack coming up right over in this area here. So we know that this very first section of the wall where there's a space here probably isn't going to work real well for our speakers. That said, we're still going to mark where the studs are all the way across here. We'll show you how to do that. And then we can make a determination of where we go from there. So let's mark out the studs. So once again, we're going to start here. Empty spot. We're going to slide it along the wall till we get the tone right there. We're going to mark this spot. Do it again. Come past here. We know there's a stud there. We'll come across here. Now it's showing another one right here. So we're going to mark that. We'll keep coming across here. Here's another one. Keep coming across. One more there. One more here. One more there. So we've got all the stud locations marked across here. We can actually come across over this way too, but I'm betting it's going to be right about here. You know how I know? Because there's a box here for the electrical. That stud is usually, they attach the box to the side of the stud. Let's see if that's the case. Start here, run this over here. Would you look at that? There's the center of the stud right along the edge of that box, right where I thought it would be. So what can we tell from this? We could tell that there's centers of the studs in these locations here. Little tip for you guys out there. If you take your tape measure, I'll bet you're going to find out that these are on 16 inches on center. So if we start this guy here, look at that, right on 16 here, 32, 48. This one's off a little bit, so we can check that measurement. This one's off just a smidge from 64. And this guy here is also off, but I'm betting there's another stud in behind here. So if you have any questions about it, after you've checked your measurements going across here, you could always go back again and check with the stud finder. Sometimes it gets the center of the stud off a little bit, but this gives you a pretty good gauge of what's in the wall. Now, like I said, over here, I'm pretty sure I got some pipes in this wall. I'm pretty sure that I got a stack going up for the vent for the sink here. And good possibility that there's some pipes in there for feeding the water into the sink in that spot there. So that kind of leaves this spot out. And over here, we got the electrical switch. Well, we've got some room up higher here. I don't know how much room or what's going on in there. So that could be an issue here. Center of the wall's in pretty good shape. The next thing you want to do is figure out where the center of the space is where you want to put the television, right? So you got your TV, measure the width of it. You know how wide it is. Find half of that. You got your center point. We're going to do the same thing here in the center of this wall because I think I want to center it between this light switch and this kick out of this wall right here. So if we look at that, the distance of that is 78 and 5/8. We'll call it 79 for the sake of argument. Half of 79, 45, and 4.5, 49 and a half. So if we measure over from here, 49 and a half, it's going to get us right about here. Where'd that pen of mine go? Try that again. 49 and a half. So we're going to mark this here for our center line. And we'll check it from this direction. No, that ain't right. My math is off. Let's try this again. We got 79, so half of 70 is 35. So 35 and 4.5, that's 35 and a half. So math error. So we'll mark it over here to 39 and a half, which is going to give us a center line right about there. And if we measure it back from this side too, that'll give us right around 39 and a half. So that's going to be pretty close to our center line. So what we're going to have to figure out next is if we want to put the TV on this center line, right? We got a stud right here, right? So we could pick up this stud, probably pick up one of them on either side here and make it fit here. Here's the next issue that you're going to run across. Remember I told you we want to put speakers on either side of the screen and we want to put a center channel underneath the screen. If we use the center line right here, we're going to have a stud right in the way of where we want to put that speaker in the center of underneath the television. So if we move this over here so that the center falls between these two studs, it's going to push the TV towards this side, towards this switch right here, and then we're going to have to make some more determinations. So let's see if we can figure out what's going on with that first. And second, we're going to look at the up and down dimensions. Because guess what? There's not just studs in the walls going this way. Sometimes there's fire breaks going between those studs. So we want to get another piece of tape going up and down somewhere in here to call out where the fire breaks are, if there are fire breaks there. And we do that the same way. So what we do is we take our handy dandy stud finder once again, and we're going to start in a void in the wall right here. So we know this is a void. We're going to turn it on, hold the button down, and we're going to go down. Uh-oh, looks like there's a stud right there, doesn't it? Up, definitely one there. Another one here. Looks like there could be one here too. So there's a couple of them here. That could be a problem. It's showing all the way down there. That's kind of strange. So I wonder if there's a cripple in there somewhere, which could be because on the other side of the wall, there's a shower in this area right here. So there could be a cripple stud going in there so that the half wall can connect up. That would be right about there too, wouldn't it? That could be a problem. So let's move over from this one to this one and see if we get the same situation here. So we're going to start here. We're going to work our way down. Shows the stud right there. And carry on down. Another one right down there. So it looks like there's studs in that section as well. Why is this important? This is important because we want to put a pass-through box in here. Remember, we need to get the power from down here. We need to get it up here behind the television somewhere so that we can have the power coming up and plug it in and not have any wires there. We also want to pass the wires from the cable box, the DVD player, and anything else from there to here without them running up and down the wall, right? Eventually, we're going to have it go out the top and go to another room for a rack, but we still need to have that box in here. We need to figure out where that's going to go. Let's move over this way one spot and see if we've got those same studs. Start it up here. Got another one there. Looks like we got another one there. And a third one there. We have got studs all over the place in this wall. This could create a problem. We'll do the same thing on this far spot here. Two. And we got 3 studs over there too. So this whole wall is a giant tic-tac-toe board back behind this wall board. Not impossible to deal with, but it's going to create issues. So let me think about what we want to do here. We'll get back to you in just a minute. Okay, so when I left you last time, you'll remember that I took my stud finder and I went up and down in this center cavity to determine if there was anything back here. Turns out there's a lot back there. So we got hits at each one of these marks all the way down here. And part of the reason for that is on the other side of this wall, like I said, is a bathroom. There's a sink here, there's a shower here. Guess what? There's a half wall that starts right about here and goes down, and it's right here in the wall, which is right in the center of where we want to put everything. So what that means is in order to tie that half a wall into this wall, they had to put structure in between here so they could tie it together. That's what all these hits are going all the way down here. What that means for us and for what we want to do here, this whole lower section of the wall is now just a mess. There's 2x4s and structure all over the place there. Getting wires through all that, that's going to be a problem. But that's what we run across on a regular basis. So what we have to do is we have to think at this from a slightly different angle. So you remember, right here is roughly the center line. No, right here is the center line of the space. Right here is the center line between these 2 studs, right? So if we start with this point here and measure out where our TV is, it would come out to here and to here. And that's not quite centered between this little wall and this doorway. So if we center between the wall and the doorway, that gives us this center line, which just so happens to be right where I put the piece of tape. Sometimes we get lucky. So if we move to the center line between these 2 pieces of architecture here on the wall and center the television there, the edge of our TV moves over to here, moves over to here, and then we still have room right here for a center channel speaker. So what I did is I went and looked at a couple of different options of center channels. This guy here is a 5 1/4 woofer dome. This only has a 4-inch woofer dome. The advantage of this guy here over the bigger one, because bigger is always better, right? Not in this case. Going with the 4-inch woofer dome, we actually get a slightly smaller footprint, which means the cutout of this guy here comes right up to the edge of this stud, right? You can see I put the outer edges of the stud in here, but still fits within this space. And it's perfectly centered in this space. So what we can do now is we can actually mount this speaker centered perfectly 2 inches, might go up another inch, 3 inches above the top of the TV. And we got our center channel in the wall. centered exactly over the center of the television as it's mounted on the wall using these two studs for our support for our mounting brackets. What this also tells me down here is this makes me change my plans for how I'm getting power behind this television. What I was planning on doing was putting a pass-through box to pick up the power from this plug right here, run it up through the wall, have another outlet right here, and a pass-through, and we plug the TV into this guy here, and pass the wires through here from our table here with our components on it. That's not going to work well because we got studs here, 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 everywhere, going all the way down in between here. To get a wire from that point to this point, I would have to drill through half a dozen studs. That's not going to work very well. We have the tools, we could do it, but it's going to be a royal pain. What I think we're going to do instead is we're going to bring an electrician in, have him come from the top, from the attic, come down and drop me a box right here. While we do that, instead of just putting a power box here, we're also going to put a pass-through box here in preparation for a future step of putting a rack in the other room. So this way we'll have the pass-through coming from the attic down to this point, we'll have power coming down to this point, then we can mount the television on the wall, plug it in right here. Temporarily, we'll run the wires on the surface of the wall behind some molding from our table where our components are to this point. Later, after we install the speakers in the wall out here, then we'll be able to talk about running everything through the wall and running it into the other room. You're right, I forgot to talk about the side speakers. So basically from this point here down is a mess. However, from this point here up is clear between all of these different sections here. What does that mean? Very simple. We take this same speaker, flip it on edge, right? We can set it right in this section here, and we could set it right over in this section here, right next to the stud, right? Right next to the stud. This will still leave room in the wall for our vent stack, which is going up in the middle there. And I'll bet you it's pretty close to dead center in the center of this space. Without an X-ray machine, it'd be hard to tell. We may be able to get a camera in there and look at it. Once we get this hole done here, we could drill through these studs and see what's over here, because we've got to run the wires behind the wall anyway, right? And we could figure out exactly how far the stack is from this edge here. Maybe we put the speaker here, maybe we move it around to miss that vent stack here. And we'll do the same thing in this cavity over here so that everything is symmetrical coming off of this center point so that everything looks nice and neat. The neat thing here is that we can actually move these speakers down a little bit so they are on the edges of the television, right? Because we got the top of the TV about this level. So if we move these speakers down here, you know, come from above this switch plate here, run them up to here, maybe even next to the switch plate because they're not very wide, right? We can get them down next to the TV on either side. You still have your left and right channels here on either side of the TV. Got your center channel up here. All is well and good with the mounting of the TV in the wall. And that will also tie in nicely for when we put our speakers in the ceiling and do our Atmos system. It all works out. We just had to think about it from a slightly different angle. Expect to have problems like that. Happens to us all the time. We got a plan. We find out what's in the wall. We have to modify our plan. Expect the unexpected. That's what makes this job so fun sometimes. Be willing to change your components to match what you got. The reality is 5 1/4 inch woofer versus a 4-inch woofer in this space, you're never going to know the difference. It's not a theater here. If we were talking an enormous space that goes back 50, 60 feet here, we're pushing a lot of sound, okay, then it makes a difference the size of your cone, and you're definitely going to want to go bigger. But in this area here, let's face it, I'm only sitting 12 feet away from this screen. If I don't have a monster speaker up here, it's not going to make that big a difference to what I'm hearing. Probably won't in your case either. So Be willing to be flexible on what it is that you're going to be putting into your wall, because it'll make a big difference as to whether it fits the right way, symmetrically, and matches what you're expecting. If you liked what we showed you here today, you know what? Go right down below this video. There's a like button there. There's a little bell right there too. Hit that button too. That will send you notifications when we post new videos to this channel. If you don't want to do it on YouTube, say you want to do it on the socials, guess what? We're on all the different socials. Like us on the socials. Put your notifications there. We'll pop up in your feed. You can see the videos there. No problem. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Finally, if you would prefer, go right to the source. NextStepAudioEnhancement.com or NextStepAE.com. Guess what? Right on the very top, we have a drop-down menu. It will show videos. Guess where this is going to be? That's right, in the videos right there. So you're able to see what you want whenever you want. We've also got articles, all kinds of other how-tos, neat stuff on the website. Check it out. I think you're going to be impressed. And stay tuned right here for when we turn all of this here into reality. We're going to show you how we do it. We're going to show you how we run all the wires. And we're going to show you how all of this is going to come together for you in later videos. Enjoy.